Yeah, I know I'm on the air. It'll be all right in just a moment. It's going to be one of those nights, folks. Just bear with me for a moment, and we'll be right on our way. All right, people, you can't expect it to all be winners all the time, but we're back at it, podcasting from the big chair tonight. That's right, we're talking about Bigfoot tracks in America. More California tracks, 1963, still the Pacific Northwest. We got a brand new Quasi Theory that's going to be unleashed tonight, along with a camping tips for stupids, all wrapped up with a Bigfoot Campfire Story. That's right. Here we are live tonight, broadcasting on YouTube because, well, there's nowhere else to do it. All right, people, welcome back to the show. I'm Reverend Jeff. I'm here. You're there. Makes the whole thing absolutely fantastic. YouTube has already screwed up my computer with a big white application bar in the middle of everything, so bear with me, and we will get the news going right away. I hope that's the right one. I believe it is. All right, there we go, folks. That's right. Don't forget the Redbubble account, redbubble.com/people/Bigfoot Watch. Check out the Operation Pie. That's right. We're just about 5 weeks away now from Operation Pie in the Pie Valley of California. We're going to be down there investigating for 4 solid nights, 5 days, and it is going to be an amazing time. We still got a few spots open, not very many. We are pretty well full up, but I will always make room for more if need be. So get a hold of me at YouTube or Facebook, or email me at sloungepodcast@gmail.com and let me know that you'll want in for the June 12th to the 16th camp out, and I'll see what I can do to get you the information to be there. All right, people, this has been the big one all week now. Yeti footprints sighted, claims the Indian Army tweet, and social media reacts to. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this one. And now as the days go on and more information is released about it, nobody's really too sure about it. The prints allegedly measured 32 inches by 15 inches. Think about that for a moment. That's nearly a 3-foot long footprint. Yeah, that's a really big foot. So as we look into this more and more, most likely it's just going to be snow melt from a normal animal like a bobcat or a high altitude cougar or snow leopard or whatever the heck they have up there. Most likely that's going to be the answer, but time will tell. Okay, next up, new fossil evidence seems to think that hominids descended out of Africa, but new fossils are available at the time says that it may not be true. And I know Dean likes to say that this comes up all the time. We don't really know where humans were actually developed, that they could have been in Eastern Europe. Apparently, the out of Africa theory suggests the cradle of humanity was Africa. Homo sapiens evolved exclusively and recently on that continent. At some point in prehistory, our ancestors migrated from Africa to Eurasia and replaced other subspecies of the genus Homo, such as Neanderthals and Denisovians. So there you go. You can check this one out on bigthink.com and see what you think for yourself. All right, strange tales from the Appalachian Mountains. That right, the Carolina folklore throughout the southeastern United States. There are countless renditions of the common legend of boogers, boogeymen, and nocturnal man-like beasts said to roam the hills. It's one of those things that you never know for sure whether they're true or not. Well, Micah Hanks here seems to think that since he was a child, he's been fascinated with one such story told by a family friend who was always a bit hesitant to describe the odd-looking, man-like animal that he and his cousins startled one night while it was invading a chicken coop on the hill besides their aunt's home. It's a good little story that goes on about it. It's It's one of those cases where I've actually heard in different situations where the boogers will come in and take chickens out of the coops. And a lot of times there's destruction to the coops, leaving them not longer think that it was coyotes or wolves. And it's a neat little story. You can check it out, mysteriousuniverse.org. Bigfoot in Montana. Are you kidding me? Missoula? Naturally. That's right. Montana's 47 Sasquatch sightings are most plentiful in 2 counties. That's right. You can go ahead and call Decker a crackpot. All of his friends have. Even as the driver submitted his story to the BFRO, he worried about sounding crazy. In October 2006, JG was driving a shuttle van for the railroads. He'd seen someone that just wasn't right there a few months earlier. Driving along on the long and lonely Decker highway just this side of Wyoming-Montana border near midnight, the witness dropped down over the Decker Hill and saw something alongside the road. He figured it was a hitchhiker until it crossed the road in front of him. What is it about Bigfoot that will wait until cars get close enough to see them and then they'll cross? I don't know, but it seems to happen a lot. This one comes out of the Great Falls Tribune. Of course, it was an April Fool's post. So, yeah. Maybe it's tongue-in-cheek. The Oregon research, the wild, the weird, the wonderful. That's right. This particular article was brought up by Jonathan and I. We had a nice long conversation about this particular thing, and it is Bigfoot's mid-tarsal break. Of course, the Dr. Jeff Meldrum, take the money and run. He's argued for this mid-tarsal break, or this mid-tarsal joint in the Bigfoot for a very long time. The mid-tarsal pressure ridge and half tracks will give it away, but all of it's really based upon this particular picture. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it if you have it on your phone. Forget it. You're probably not going to be able to see it at all. But of course, now this won't come up because I can't see it. Anyhow, basically, it is one of the Patterson-Gimlin footprints from the sandbar in Bluff Creek. And as you can see, there is a ridge that kind of runs through the middle of it that looks like the foot had kind of absorbed the branch that was pushed over in the sand underneath it, when in fact it's more likely that the little branch rebounded after the foot came up off of it, which leads to question, is there really a mid-tarsal break there at all? It's something that he has really hinged his entire thing on. Bigfoot is this mid-tarsal pressure ridge, but was it all based on an assumption? I don't really know. All I know is the man will work with Todd Standing, and that's kind of crazy. All right, Bigfoot hunters to blame for illegal marijuana suspects' escape. That's right. Texas law enforcement are blaming the Bigfoot hunters for their lack of success in capturing suspects who were allegedly operating an illegal marijuana field near Dallas. Recently, a joint law enforcement comprising of the Delta County Sheriff's Office, game wardens, and the Department of Public Safety, God, how much money did they spend, went into action after receiving a hot tip from a hog farmer that substantial marijuana field was in operation with the protected wildlife management area. Boo. Will full aerial support and dope sniffing hounds. The Texas Task Force discovered a farm of 6,550 cannabis plants near Sulphur River, which has an estimated street value of $6.5 million. No, it does not. Maybe in 1982 money, but not in today's money. I promise you that you're not getting $1,000 a plant. Anyhow, this was not something playing around experimenting, the Texas game warden said. The drug busters then went in search of the illegal pot farmers, whom they suspected to be locals, well into the night when they were suddenly caught in a cluster. A group of Bigfoot hunters who were hoping to find the hairy Sasquatch were stomping all over the place, cameras at the ready, which is when cops say they lost the trail of the suspects. Point. Can you imagine the amount of money that was put forth on that operation and foiled by those pesky teenagers? Oh, hey, yeah. No, this is no joke. ESPN literally brought forth, and this is April 10th. It's not an April Fool's joke. Inside the world's premier Sasquatch calling contest. Apparently, there's the thing that they do. The main judge in the 3rd annual Sasquatch Calling Festival in Whitehall, New York, is here on the eve of the event, wandering through the rolling grassy knolls. Now, wouldn't you have to actually know what a Sasquatch call sounded like before you were able to judge how good somebody else's Sasquatch call is? I'm really not too sure about this, guys, but everybody, including ESPN, is getting in on the Bigfoot. All right, people. All right. This is the last one of the night. The Sasquatch mask retired to British Columbia's First Nation. That's right. It disappeared from the First Nation in 1939. Hunting for an elusive Sasquatch mask revered by British Columbia's First Nation has been a 16-year journey for James Leon, taking him through London, Boston, New York, and Ottawa. And in the end, all it took was a question to the lady sitting next to him at a Vancouver event to lead him to his nation's Saskatchewan mask that vanished 75 years ago. Mr. Leon was at a reparation event for another First Nations artifact held by the Vancouver Museum when he asked the lady sitting beside him if she knew of the ape-like mask partially covered in bear fur. Her eyes lit up and said, "We were just looking at that mask the other day," and they were gracious enough to get it for him. Yeah, we said with a chuckle, the mask disappeared in 1939 from the I can't pronounce that, and I apologize. Near Harrison Hot Springs in British Columbia's Fraser Valley. I want to say it's Salish First Nation. It's pretty close, I'm sure. Mr. Leon took the job of finding the mask seriously and learned it had been on the traveling display. So congratulations to them for getting their ancient, their 100-year-old Sasquatch mask back. All right. Don't forget to check out the Patreon feed. If you like what we do here, consider becoming a Patreon. It only costs $1, and it gets you access to all of the Bigfoot campfire stories that are going up there. We are up to 12 already or so. There's another one going up tonight. I put 4 of them up this week. I know I had been behind because I was sick, and I have now put a bunch of them up there, and there will be more to follow as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, the Operation Pie Pie, June 12th to the 16th. It's going to be an amazing time. Nighttime hikes, Sasquatch calling. That's right. Knocking on trees, yelling into the woods, and campfire food all along a beautiful, pristine, ice cold river in 90-degree heat. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It'll be serious too, not just fun, but we'll definitely get there. Why is this doing that to me? Oh, there we go, because I have to click that one. All right. And that, my friends, is the news. All right. So that brings us up to, that's right, that moment that everybody loves, that Quasi Theory, Mr. Dean Cooper. Let's check out this week's Quasi Theory from a quasi scientist. God, I hate YouTube. You guys have just destroyed this platform. You have made it nearly unusable, and that is really a shame. There we go. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
My digital sneakers and Mark Zuckerberg are plotting against me. 3 years ago, last January, I wrote a piece entitled, "My digital sneakers and my refrigerator are plotting against me." I shall briefly summarize the plot. All those Wi-Fi connected semi-intelligent devices you own will conspire against you if you annoy any one of them individually. They will get even. The current reality of such things is much worse than that. Much worse. I've made the mistake of reading a book that was released just this past January. It's The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, The Fight for a Human Future at the New Frontier of Power by Shoshana Zuboff. Basically, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft want to control your mind. And not just those three, Amazon, Cisco, IBM, and just about every major corporation on the planet are involved in it. Ever wonder how Google and Facebook make those humongous piles of money? Yes, those targeted ads are a major part of it, but that's just the start. What they are actually selling is what they predict you are going to buy next, what you're going to do next. All that data on you is stored on the cloud, or clouds, is grist for their AI software. All your searches, posts, shares, likes, dislikes, happy faces, frowny faces, every click you make, everything you buy, everything your cloud-connected fridge knows about you, your smart TV with that nice voice-activated interface that you never bother to turn off. It is all analyzed and made into a rendering of you that predicts your next action. Your face or your fingerprint recognition that's supposed to be protecting your phone, tablet, laptop, whatever, is used to build up a model of you. This is where it gets weirder. Do a search for a product on Google, and that search is combined with the rest of your Google rendered profile, and the prediction that you might buy that product is auctioned off. Yes, auctioned off. There are hidden online markets that companies bid on your search, so that Google may flip up their ad at you. This happens within seconds. All those ads you have to wade through to finally read the clickbait you wanted to see are there because Google sold off a prediction to an advertiser. It gets weirder and worser. Waiting for that smart car with the internet-enabled features, so is your insurance company. So is the bank you borrowed the money for the car from. Speed a lot, corner hard a lot, don't use your turn signal. Your car will report it to your insurance company and your rates will go up. Drive nice and the rates go down, microsecond by microsecond. Miss a couple of car payments, your car won't start. But be of good cheer. Your car will let the repo guy know where it's at. These unregulated internet capitalists are spying on you every way they can. Fitbits with Wi-Fi, Google Nest controlling your house, pacemaker that sends data to your doctor. There are Wi-Fi enabled rectal thermometers being developed. There's a noble future planned for all this data collection. Well, spying, really. The plan is, once everyone and everything is joined to the Internet of Things, a true utopia will emerge. It will be a utopia because when the AIs predict you will do something that will decrease your profitability to the surveillance capitalists, all your rates will go up. The AIs will make sure you are a good human, fit to be allowed to purchase more connected things. You may read the text of this on my blog at buydean.com. It's BHAIDIN.com.
That's right. Screw Google and the horse they rode in on. All right, Mr. Dean Cooper. He has got it at buydean.com. You know what that puts us up to? That puts us up to another brand new camping tips for stupids. And we are at it now. Oh, no, we're not, because I didn't put it on the screen, and that would be bad. Yes. All right. It's going to be one of those evenings here. There we go.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 79. This is a can of whipped cream. This is a handful of glitter. This is a spray bottle of Febreze. This is a can of spray paint. This is shit in a spray can. Watch what you use for bear spray, people. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Well, there you have it, people. Camping tips for stupids. That's right. Spay and neuter your idiot population for better parental control. All right, let's see here. Let's see who's hanging out in the Squatchers Lounge hangout tonight. All right, we'll get scooted up here to the top. Miss Natalie Smith is checking in with us. Hello there, Miss Natalie Smith. How you doing? Bella Childers is here as well. I'm glad you are there. Andy Hawkins. Yeah, there wasn't any sound then because the show wasn't on, but it's on now. There's Miss Can Squanch. How you doing? Glad you're back in the house with us. Hello there, Bella. How you doing tonight? Miss Maria Allegria. There you go. J.R. Fitzwater. That's right. How do you know Fitzwater and how do you know the two gay guys on the block, Michael Fitzpatrick and Patrick Fitzmichael? Something like that. I don't remember. It's a really old bad gay joke. Hunter, how you doing there, sir? Glad you are with us as well. All right, we're moving on down the line here. There's Dean Cooper swinging that hammer. He's watching everybody, and he'll never stop. That's right. Moving on down the line here, Titan Glass 88. I really hope that is one of those store places. Yeah, sorry, an endorsement. I'm having a weird moment. Raymond Pratt, there you go. It's kind of crazy out here. There's Mr. Lance Windsor. He is in the house with us tonight, our Canadian man with a plan. Karen Robb's in the house with us tonight. Hello there. Hope everybody is feeling well. There, Mr. Rod Dupree. He's coming out to the Pie camp out. That's right. Chilly 53 degrees in Colorado. The wee. I don't even want to know. Glad you are with us tonight as well. There's Mr. Don Reif. Hope you're still planning on coming to the camp out. I am planning on coming and seeing you at the Renaissance Fair, the 25th and the 26th of May up there at the Feather Falls. So we should run into each other before the campground, before the camp out, at least a couple of weeks. All right, moving on down the line here. Let's see who else is hanging out with us. Your Hobo Man 5. Yeah, shit. I don't know what happened to 1, 2, 3, and 4, but number 5's hanging out with us tonight because that's the place to be. There's the Brown Dwarf is in the house. Glad you are with us as well. There's Obsidian Radio checking in from the outside. I'm moving on up to the east side. Sam Squanch Rivera is in the house tonight. Our man from Florida. How you doing there, Chief? Glad you're with us as well. Moving right on down the line here. I know there's more than this. And there's the Life of Times JCM. That's right. The man behind Gone Camping. The camping tips for stupids. That's him. So if you don't like him, blame him. Actually, there's nothing. It's always great. Reverend Matthew Gaines. There's the man. We've got a bunch of reverends in the house tonight. Reverend Captain Matthew Calls in the house with us tonight. How you doing there, Chief? Glad you are there, as well as, oh God, how do you pronounce that, Mr. Salazar? Is it Hosu? I don't know. Is it Hosu? I'm sorry, I'm murdering it. I probably am. I'm not meaning to. Kevin K420, how you doing there, champ? Glad you're with us. The Forest Cop is in the house. There he is. All right, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Richard Barfield's in the house with us as well. Howdy doody, Mr. Richard Barfield. Glad that we are with you tonight. And I think that is everybody. If I missed you, I am sorry, but I am not seeing your name here in the list. I'm glad. I am feeling better, that's for sure, because it has been a rough couple of weeks. But yes, I am back at it. Well, Matthew Call, first time watcher, first time chatter. Welcome to the show, brother. Everybody's welcome in the Squatchers Lounge. Well, not everybody. There's a bunch of people that are blocked, but that's because they deserved it. There, Aaron Duncan checked in late, a little late, but better than never. That's right. I see Billy and Betty and Tommy and Tim and Mary and Petey and Slimmy and Jim. That's right, Romper Room. If you don't know what it is, you didn't have a great childhood. So sorry for you. All right. I think that is where we are at tonight. Yes, we are talking about these, God, this is so bad with this stupid white bar that gets in the way. Y'all have no idea the kind of aggravation this causes, to the point that I just want to puke. Where is my other page? There's 3 of them here. One of them, there we go. Finally. Yes. Oh. There. Okay. YouTube, get better. You've got one job and you suck at it. Literally, you have one job and you suck at it. There we go. Finally. Yep. I was coming from the North American Bigfoot site of Cliff Barrickman. There you have it, people. The Hyampom site number 2, Bigfoot track. Now, as the story goes, John Green gives us the information of the cast and context in Sasquatch, the Apes Among Us. He writes, I wasn't back in California until 1963. Now, remember, that was before the flood and before the Patterson film, by which time Tom Slick was deceased. And Tom Slick was the man who paid for most of the long-term searches for Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti. If it was a cryptid, he had a whole lot of money and he went after it and paid for people to help him do it. Now, Bob, who had returned to visit his parents, had been shown some tracks of 3 different sizes in Hyampom, about 60 miles south of Bluff Creek site. And he drove down to have a look. By the time he arrived, Bob had made some casts, but sightseers had trampled on nearly all the tracks, leaving only a couple of the 16-inch long ones. The other tracks, one 17 inches long and very wide, and the other 15 inches with widely splayed toes, were both new to everybody. But the 16-inch could well have been the original Bigfoot track, the one that had been wandering around that area. And remember, a 30-mile walk is nothing but a day and a half of wandering of a creature that has a 3-foot, 4-foot leg span and doesn't have any weight on his back. The cast is from an individual with 15-inch tracks mentioned above. Interesting, the particular cast measures 16 inches, but there was another track cast from the same individual that is documented at 15 inches. When multiple casts from a trackway are cast, they often have different lengths due to the casting substrate, as well as the forward motion of the foot as it impresses in the mid-stride. The photograph below it is from the same trackway, and I think I can blow that up just a little bit for you there. And the inline toe lines to this, the half as wide as it is long, those are all indications of things that are not a hoax. And we for a long time nobody really wanted to give away what those dimensions actually came out to be, simply because then people would start hoaxing them themselves. Here's a picture of the original casting with the 3 different size tracks, from 17 down to 15. And, a 17-inch track versus a 15-inch track is a big difference between them. But, these are not the Wallace tracks. These are not carved out, stamped in foot tracks in the field. These were come across honestly with no connections to a logging site or a construction site or anywhere near that Ray Wallace had been. Yet they're the exact same type and structure of tracks that were found in Bluff Creek and cast during the Patterson-Gimlin film. Only this was predating that. So apparently, even if Patterson had made somebody get into his suit and trampled across the sandbar down there and made it the miraculous first take ever perfect print of a fake Bigfoot, who was leaving these tracks 4 years earlier when nobody had any of that attention whatsoever? Prior to 1967 in the film, there were very few people who looked into this, who even cared about this. Little blurbs in the newspaper here, not picked up by the AP. It's not getting launched in the Washington Times. It's not getting posted in the New York Post. It's getting put in the Willow Creek Chronicle, in the Sacramento Beehive or whatever the hell it is here. I'm not even sure. Now, in modern times, in this same kind of an area, as we move forward here to 1985, summertime in the August, the BFR report tells us the Big Slide swimming hole on the South Fork of the Trinity River, again in Hyampom, California. And while they were camping at a spot called Big Slide just outside of Hyampom in Trinity County, there were at least 5 of us all sleeping on the beach in the South Fork of the Trinity. I woke up in the night having heard something loud enough to make me sit up. It was a bright moon that night, and I could see across the river to the other bank quite clearly. I saw a large creature with 2 legs shaking a tree. It was a huge pine tree. I remember looking to the top of the tree and registering that it was a big tree to be shaking with such force. I tried to wake my friend to my right, and no one else awoke. I had no doubt in my mind that I was seeing a Bigfoot. Everyone there knew Trinity County and was a stomping ground for them. The river was running, so I never heard any noise from its mouth. It eventually stopped its tree shaking and ran down the beach in an arc and off into the woods. I told myself that I would check its footprints out in the morning, and I went to sleep. The next day, I remembered it all like a dream coming back. I took my biggest friend over to the other side of the river, and we found the tracks in the sand. We had him run into the sand from the forest and back out again, just as I had seen the Bigfoot do. He was a 6-foot tall man weighing at least 180 pounds, and his tracks shrank to about half the size of the prints that we had found in the sand. We all agreed that this was very odd. We also agreed that the prints were real and not from a bear or a man. So we're all the way up to 1985 and as far forward as 2001 with a road crossing in the same area. So again, how often are you actually going to see a rare animal that might just use it for a migration path? That is very, very hard to say. And with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast with another Bigfoot campfire story. That's right. It always goes so fast because we're having so much fun. But the show's always been about 40 minutes, and we're going to be there at the end of the Bigfoot campfire story. So with that, my friends, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being out there. We will have a show next week. And for sure, the closer we get to the Bigfoot outing in Pi Valley, the more excited I'm going to be about it. We're going to start doing some scouting here in the next couple of weeks. My big red is draining all the fluids out of her right now as we speak so that I can get new fluids in her tomorrow. And with that, enjoy this edition of Bigfoot Campfire Stories, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for being here, and may the Squatch be with you. There it is. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Welcome to another episode of Bigfoot Campfire Stories. This week's story comes from a gold prospector named Troy from deep in the hills of the Sierra Nevadas. For some time, something had been raiding his supplies, but the miner could never figure out just who or what was doing it, until one night they got a little too close for comfort. This is that story. Well, I had been looking for a gold claim to buy for some time now. And when a claim came up in the Yuba River system, I couldn't pass it up. All the creeks in that area were rumored to still be loaded with gold, and if you dare to go in deep enough. This particular claim had been assessed recently and had been said to be pretty rich ground, but it was off the beaten path. In fact, miles down a quad trail was the only way in. The claim I could afford, and the seller was motivated to get rid of it, as he said, "I'm never going back up there again." I asked just what the issue was, and the man said the local wildlife was just too much for him to handle. So I made the deal and moved my operation in. Well, winter was fast on us, so I really wasn't going to have a chance to do much until spring. So I went ahead and boarded up the shack and went back to town to wait out the snow. For the first few months of the spring, the snow was still too deep to do much at the site, but I visited and noticed here and there that things had been kind of broken open. The root cellar and the smokehouse even though both were empty. I thought it had to have been bears, even though no claw marks had been found or left behind. I did a few repairs and left again for another month. Well, upon my return in May, the snows had finally thawed out my sight, and I was open to move myself out to the gold shack and begin to run pay dirt. Sure enough, the ground was good enough after 3 weeks of running a one-man operation. I was pulling 3/4 of an ounce an hour, and for me, that was huge numbers. After my cleanup, I decided some fun was in order, so I rode out to my truck and went into the town tonight to celebrate. Well, I had probably celebrated a bit too much, but I made it back to my quad. The trail was soon enough and rode back into camp. Upon my arrival into the shack, I noticed an animal run off from behind the root cellar. I thought that bear was back again, and this time there were some canned goods out there for storage. Well, I turned the quad's light onto the cellar and drove over to it, only to find the door completely ripped off. There was no way I could leave the food out there for the night, so I started moving it into the shack. With each trip back and forth, I could swear an animal was out there getting closer and closer, as if to watch what I was doing. Well, upon my last trip inside, to my amazement, the animal was buried chest deep into the cellar, digging out food. Well, I screamed, "Hey, bear!" And it turned back out, stood up on 2 legs. I shined my flashlight up in the face, but this was definitely no bear. In front of me, all 7.5 or 8 feet tall of it, was a Bigfoot, covered in hair, head to toe, only bare in the face around the eyes and cheeks. I could see from the flashlight, at least. The creature put its hand up to shield its eyes from the light, and it stood there for a good 2 or 3 seconds as though a deer caught in the headlights before running off with jars of food in its hands. Well, I bolted to the inside of the cabin to grab my shotgun, and I turned on the gun's light, and I put on my headlamp to go out and try and find the beast. Well, these thin cabin walls surely won't keep it out. I dared to go outside, and I could hear the thing around camp. It would move from place to place, and then I would hear a jar break every once in a while. Well, finally, I got a bead on this direction. I quickly fired a shotgun round off in its direction. It was only bird shot, but it should scare the crap out of it enough to move on. I fired several more rounds as it moved around until I finally heard a scream out that must have hit and went crashing down the slope towards the hills, down towards the river. The rest of the night was quiet, but unnerving until the sun came up once again. Well, once the sun was high enough in the sky to see around, I started to look for signs of the beast, see if it had left anything behind. The ground was so dusty from the lack of rain, the tracks were just impressions in the dirt without any detail. I did find several of the food jars broken and empty of contents. He really seemed to like the pickled eggs. Then I located a small blood trail, not a heavy flow, but just enough to follow for a while. About 300 yards down the hill it goes, over an impossible drop-off, yet that's where the trail seemed to lead. I went back to camp and I got my quad and I drove down to where the drop-off would lead, but there was no sign of the creature anywhere, so I went on back to camp. The next day, I'd gone back into town and called a couple of friends to come out to the claim. I had told them what happened the night before. Jim believed me, but Tommy just laughed as he looked at the root cellar. His laughter turned a bit more cold. Neither of them could explain what had ripped the door clean off. And when I showed them the blood trail and where it led, they started to believe me just a little more. I convinced the guys to stay with me for the weekend and see if the creature came back, but it never did. I've been on this claim now about 3 years and still no return of that Bigfoot. But I don't keep food outside anymore either. Well, this miner never believed in Bigfoot until one of them actually showed up. I guess that's the deciding point for many new believers. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you. Looks like we got some latecomers to the room here. I believe I said hi to Aaron, but Drew with California Picking is back with us. I saw that James the Grower stopped in to see us as well. And I know there was some of the mysterious journals by Dee Dee. Hello there, young lady. And I know there was I knew there. I just can't find it now. Sorry if I've missed you. Up there, Chris Cullinan. There you go. There's the man. I believe that is everybody that I may have missed. See you guys next week. Thanks for being here. And may the Squatch be with you. That was the wrong stop button.